Phil Mickelson just lost something money can't buy back. Not a tournament, not a sponsorship. His own golf club. For decades, the Farms was Phil's place. His portrait hung on the wall next to Xander Schauffele, Charlie Hoffman, and Michael Jordan. He trained there before majors. It was home. Then, in the middle of a round, club officials walked onto the course and pulled him off it. Days later, his portrait was gone from the wall. Just gone. His lawyer came out swinging, claiming video evidence cleared him completely. Golf Digest checked. There was no video. None existed. And that's not the only thing about this story that doesn't add up. To understand why this hit so hard, you have to understand what the Farms actually meant to him. The Farms sits about 25 miles northeast of San Diego, close enough to Rancho Santa Fe that Phil could be there in minutes. This is the area he grew up in, where he won junior tournaments as a kid, where he never really left even after becoming one of the most famous athletes on the planet. This wasn't just a club he paid dues at. It was the one place in golf where nobody was watching. No cameras, no galleries, no reporters by the clubhouse. Just Phil, a few members, and the game he'd played there since childhood. By 2026, that mattered more than ever, because everywhere else in Phil's life was already falling apart. He played in exactly one LIV event all year. He withdrew from the Masters. He withdrew from the PGA Championship. He wasn't even eligible for the US Open. The official reason given was a family health matter, and nobody pushed back on that. Why would they? The Farms was the last room left where Phil Mickelson still felt like Phil Mickelson, where his name still meant something. So when the club pulled him off the course mid-round, it wasn't just embarrassing, it was the last door closing. And what happened behind that door is where this story gets complicated. According to Golf Digest, which says its reporting is based on multiple sources, a female employee at the clubhouse said Phil made unwanted physical contact with her. She says she rejected him. He went back out to the course like nothing happened. She didn't stay quiet. She reported it to her supervisors immediately, and the club didn't wait around. They launched an investigation while Phil was still mid-round, found him out on the course, and confronted him directly with what she'd said. He was told to leave before he finished playing. He left. The Farms put out a statement. They said a staff member reported member misconduct, that they gave her immediate support, ran an independent investigation, and took decisive action. Then this line, "This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club." That should have ended the story right there. It didn't. Because here's where it gets messy. Golf Digest's first report said Phil was kicked out. Then it got quietly updated. Now it says he resigned. His lawyer is the one pushing that version hard. But resigned after being confronted on the course and told to leave isn't the same as walking away on your own terms. And the timeline raises an obvious question. Was the resignation real, or just a way to save face after the decision had already been made for him? And then there's the lawyer's claim that's harder to explain away. Tom Clare, one of the most well-known defamation attorneys in the country, told Golf Digest the entire account was contradicted by, quote, "objective video evidence." That's a serious legal claim. It implies he's seen footage that clears his client. Except when Golf Digest asked to see it, something strange happened. Nothing showed up. There were no cameras anywhere near where the incident reportedly happened. None. A club spokesperson confirmed there's no footage of the two of them together, not one frame, anywhere on the property that day. Golf Digest gave the legal team a direct chance to produce the video Clare said existed. They never did. Clare also never said which specific part of the allegation was false. Just that it was wrong. There's one more piece to this. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office confirmed it looked into the matter and said that, based on what investigators had at the time, there wasn't enough evidence to support a criminal assault charge. That's not the same as clearing him. Investigators also said the case could be reopened if new evidence comes forward. So this isn't closed, it's paused. So a lawyer claimed proof exists. The proof does not exist. Police didn't find enough to charge him, but they didn't rule it out either. That gap is the heart of this entire story, and it's the part nobody's been able to explain since. It also lines up with something that had been floating around quietly before this ever went public. A golf podcast called Mr. Short Game said flat out that there were multiple reasons Phil hadn't been playing this year, and that two separate things were happening at the same time. In plain terms, People close to the San Diego golf world reportedly knew about this incident months before it broke. The family health story was real, but it wasn't the whole story. And once you start pulling that thread, you realize this isn't really a story about one bad afternoon at a golf club. It's the latest chapter in something that's been building for 10 years, and each chapter got bigger than the last. Start in 2016. Phil was named a relief defendant in a federal insider trading case built around a professional gambler named Billy Walters. The allegation was that Walters tipped Phil off on a struggling company called Dean Foods before its stock spiked, and Phil cashed in. He wasn't criminally charged, but he agreed to repay nearly $1 million in profits the SEC said came from that single trade. Money prosecutors said was used to cover gambling debts Phil owed Walters in the first place. Then 2022. Phil became one of the public faces of LIV Golf's launch, the breakaway league funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. In an interview, he later said he regretted. He called the Saudis scary mother-fifths, accused them of human rights abuses, and admitted he was only using them as leverage to force change at the PGA Tour. Within weeks, he lost KPMG, Amstel Light, Workday, and Callaway as sponsors. The golfer who'd spent 2 decades as one of the most marketable athletes in the sport lost nearly all of it in a single news cycle. Then 2023. Billy Walters published his own memoir, and the numbers in it were staggering. He wrote that Phil had wagered more than $1 billion across 3 decades and lost roughly $100 million of it. The detail that made headlines everywhere: Walters claimed Phil tried to place a $400,000 bet against his own United States team at the 2012 Ryder Cup, a tournament Phil was actively playing in at the time. That same year, a separate story resurfaced. In a 2023 afterword to Alan Shipnuck's biography of Mickelson, an allegation came out involving a 2015 dinner where Phil was accused of inappropriate conduct toward a young server. Phil declined to comment directly. His attorney at the time called the story absolutely untrue. It got some attention, then faded, the way a lot of Phil stories did back when his name alone was enough to make controversy disappear. Looking back at it now, next to everything that's happened since, it doesn't fade the same way. Each time, Phil's name was bigger than the scandal. He survived all of it. But by 2026, the math finally stopped working in his favor. The Saudi money behind LIV Golf is set to dry up entirely by the end of this year. His exemptions into the remaining majors are gone. Now his own club, the one place that had nothing to do with sponsors or tours or public image, has cut him loose. And the one legal defense his team offered up publicly fell apart the moment anyone actually asked to see it. So where does that leave him? His lawyer says he's considering legal action over how the story was reported. The employee hasn't spoken publicly and likely won't. The investigation stays open if anything new surfaces. His name is technically still on the entry list for the Open Championship this July, which means there's one more major where he could theoretically show up. Nobody knows if he will, or how a clubhouse full of strangers would react if he did. For 30 years, Phil Mickelson built his name on being golf's most beloved people person, the guy who stayed late signing autographs, the family man everyone wanted to root for. And the thing that may finally end that image isn't a missed cut or a bad round. It's an allegation from one employee in the one room he thought was completely safe. What do you think actually happened in that clubhouse? Drop your take in the comments, because this story is far from over. And if you want to know what happens the next time Phil shows up at a tournament, subscribe, because we'll be covering it the moment it happens.